Greetings, friends, and welcome to the woods. I want to point out something that by the time this enters into the cyber world, it may already be apparent to you. We are we are being asked to expand our awareness, our understanding of what is true, to include ideas that only a short while ago would have been heckled, would have been mercilessly mocked. The idea that our world has been controlled by a very few people, a couple of years ago, laughable. The idea that those few people have tampered with our history, a few months ago, laughable. The idea that our owners might not have been fully human, well, that might still be laughable now, but there are quite a number of people who are waking up to, well, the reality of our world. And as a result, there are some people who, galloping ahead of the herd, have received very well-meaning and in some cases really wonderful advice from those who are trying to help our species in the same way that we would help, say, a stray dog or a feral cat that shows up on the doorstep. I think it's kind, but I also think that it's a little bit self-serving because we are a very interesting species, and interacting with us, it's got to be fascinating for some of these folks who have never had the depth of emotional experiences that anyone who's been on this planet for a while has had, because this planet is a pressure cooker. It has some very, very intense emotions and experiences that just doesn't happen very many places, because if it did, we'd be seeing chaos all over the universe. That said, some of the humans who are open to receiving the advice and passing it along, again, very well meaning. And some of the advice can be helpful, but sometimes not. You see, the observations of a person about humans who's never been a human, it's wonderful to have different perspectives, and you can garner some good information from that. But if we were looking at the lions out on the Serengeti, we might have all sorts of ideas about what they're thinking and what they can do and what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing and how they should go about their lives to optimize their lives. But we've never been lions on the Serengeti. Most of us have not. We can imagine. We can go out and walk the Serengeti ourselves and get ideas about what it's like there and look around, but we don't have the same sensory perceptions as a lion. We don't really know what they can do. We can watch them with our cameras, our motion detectors. The cameras come on and we watch what they do, and we can talk amongst ourselves about why they do certain things and how they could do better, and we could offer that to the lion. Or maybe you should, when you go to look at a mate, maybe you should try this instead of that, and when you go to interact with your pride, maybe you should do this instead of that. But unless you've been a feline, unless you've experienced it yourself. We have no idea what's going on inside of them. And those who've never been human, who've never come down here and tried this themselves, some of them have, but those who haven't, they don't know exactly how this works. Most of us, humans, we don't know exactly how this works. We're learning. And as our DNA is transforming and changing, we're becoming something a little bit different, and we're learning about ourselves. You have to be careful about where you're getting advice. If the advice gives you some wonderful ideas that you try out and it works, wonderful. But sometimes, for instance, I heard some interesting advice very recently, how we should do everything from love, and we should just open our hearts and open our being just to the world, because that's how we become more and ascend, and we will just live in bliss all the time if we were just open to just love everybody, everything. Just come from love. Okay. Now for humans, love means connecting with things. If you walk around and you're connected to everything all the time, you're going to go crazy. If you walk around and you're open to most things all the time, you're going to run into trouble if you live in a world full of humans. Now, if you're out off the grid by yourself, that could be just fine. But if you're living in a world full of humans, especially right now, that's not going to be so fine. It's wonderful advice for the person the entity who gave it, because where they are existing and with their past experience, with who and what they are, it works. But for us, not so much. Not so much. And so, just an observation before we enter into the world of um, a lot of interaction with non-Terran people, or Terran people who haven't lived within our society, who've lived in places that we didn't know about and we didn't access and we're just learning about. Before they give you, well, they can give you whatever advice they want to give you, but before you take it, consider the difference in culture. Let me give you a for instance. If you think back to the way that you thought and felt when you were a child or when you were a teenager, it's going to be way, way different from later on in life, when the hormones aren't raging and your body isn't changing and you didn't have things to anchor you, relationships and situations that have anchored you to this world in a way that's given you a completely different perspective. It might be difficult for you to recall the intensity of the thoughts and the feelings and just the unmitigated power of how you felt when you were a child or a teenager before you reached this point. And if you're having difficulty understanding how you felt back then, imagine trying to understand someone who's in a completely different DNA experience growing up in a completely different culture, completely different situation, with lifetimes that affirmed that experience as being what is real and what works. We're going to get advice from all over the place. Sincere and wanting to be helpful, and some of it will be. But trust yourself first. Trust yourself. Your sovereignty, your connection to Source, what works best for you. Learn and grow. This will constantly be changing. What works today may not have been what worked yesterday, and it may not be what will work tomorrow. But trust yourself first. Take in the advice, consider it. But the final decision is yours. And welcome to the woods.